So what I'm going to be taking you through today is the installation of a Thatcher blade. Now this comes with some springs as well as 3 washers and also some 3 centering fitment washers that insert into the center so that it would then fit most standard lawnmowers, probably with an 18 to 22 inch blade. You can see here these springs fit nicely. They then insert into the little bent out piece that is in here. You can see it's a very simple installation. I definitely would recommend using some leather gloves because it does take a little bit of force. Now these centering washers come in a variety of sizes. So as you can see here, I've flipped the lawnmower up. You're gonna have to keep in mind that right there is the bowl for the carburetor. And if you put it down a little container, you're going to catch some of what drips out of the bowl. I believe there's a little piece in there that just allows some of the gas out. It's not really that big of an issue. I did prop up the mower on a little container here. Now what you're going to do is actually remove this center bolt. I did loosen it off here, standard wrench. It shouldn't be too big of an issue. Sometimes you might need to give this a rap on the end with a hammer. Just give it a good smack. Not terribly too hard, but just enough to jar the threads. And what that's gonna do is break any sort of surface tension between the two metals that have actually, they kind of end up they seem to weld themselves together. Okay, now you do see there, it is flush. Now, if I were to install the blade at the same time, it's not going to have these pieces here that that prevent the blade from spinning. So if I put this blade on at the same time, it's not going to have those tines grabbing the center, which would allow then this blade to spin slightly. And if these blades kind of end up lining up in a fashion like that, I'm suspecting it's going to cause some vibration. So what I'm going to try to do is, because I want to try to do 2 things at once here, I'm going to try to line them up so that they're actually perpendicular to each other. And hopefully that works. Now I'll wait and see and feel if there is vibration or not. And if there is too much, I'll then just remove the blade and then proceed with just doing the dethatching. Now is probably a good time to clean out the bottom of your lawnmower. This is going to prevent, it's going to prevent a lot of the thatch from nicely wisping around into the bag. It's going to slow it down. This debris also causes rust on the back side underneath here if you've got a steel machine. So I would suggest definitely scraping this all off at the end of the season. And if you got a really expensive mower, I would definitely do it a lot more often than that. You could use like a plastic scraper just to ensure that you're not going to scratch up the paint. And then again, I'm going to tighten this down probably to approximately 25 foot-pounds, which is, you know, a good little pull with your hands here. So it's fairly snug. I would say that'd be good. We'll definitely keep an eye on this gas leaking out. There's a little bit more dripping there too. So you got to move fairly quick, especially if you're working around fire. Well, unfortunately, I gave it a quick start and let it run for about 2-3 seconds. And in that time, the blades actually did not stay perpendicular to each other. So I'll just do the dethatching. I'll take this blade off. There's no point in having a machine vibrate a lot. It'll probably just cause damage on the inner bearing or something along those lines. So when dethatching, I think you definitely want to go with just a little bit longer, which is this section right here. That I think is scalped just a little bit too low. That would take quite a bit of time to kind of recover. Whereas that section there It picked up the majority of it. I think with a light rake, you should run into no problems. So I originally had a standard dethatching blade, and I noticed because of the standard lawnmower blade, it had these little winglets on. So I put the same type of winglets on the dethatching blade because what I wanted to do was aid in the grass being picked up and then blown into the bag. Now you're going to pick up about maybe a half to 3/4 of a bag every few hundred feet, but it's definitely a lot easier than raking up all those little pieces of dry grass and twigs and branches and pine cones and stuff like that. So these little winglets spin, which then creates suction, drawing all the air up into the bag along with all the debris. Very similar to the lawnmower blade. I did also put on a sharpened edge, but because these tines are throwing up such a large amount of debris, I believe that these edges are probably going to need to be sharpened probably at about 2 times the rate that of a standard blade. So what I'm going to do is actually put this blade back onto the mower. You can also use like a block of wood, but just kind of jam between the blade and the shroud. Now keep in mind there's going to be a certain design and style with this that's going to include fitment washers, but you want to use your standard washer and nut bend for putting your blade back on, and put it back on exactly the way it was when it came from factory. Always ensuring that you're torquing this nut down to approximately 25 foot-pounds. This one's a fine thread. It's not going to need any Loctite or anything along those lines. And as you can see here, I did miss out on one of those crucial little components. In this case, that direction. Each mower is going to be a bit different. You might just have a bolt, you might have a lock washer, you might just have a standard lock or a standard washer like this. And then again, tighten down to 25 foot-pounds. Probably want to use gloves, especially if you're handling a sharp blade, but most people say I know what I'm doing. Slip and a miss. You're always wondering why I wear band-aids. There you go. That should be plenty fine. So once again, you can see here, this then spins in a circular fashion. And because I put a sharpened edge on it, it's cutting the grass while it's dethatching. And that also is blowing those grass particles up, as well as these spring tines. Scrape the ground, and then drop that thatch, and then it gets all shot into the bag. So this worked really, really well. I ended up reducing the amount of raking down by at least half because I was just emptying the bag into the recycle bin that I've got. So I'm going to probably have this product on my website shortly. Yeah, so in review, this modified dethatching blade with the winglets on the ends, as it spins, it's drawing the airflow around the shroud of your mower, and with the sharpened edges is cutting any extra length of grass. I did this section here on my lawn and it worked out incredibly well. Definitely impressed with the design. I'm not too sure. I don't know why anybody hasn't designed one of these. Maybe because these standard dethatching blades are meant to fit every lawnmower on the market, whereas this size here is 21 inches. and specifically fits a 21-inch mower.